Crowd Tuesday once again. Today we're discussing a shadowy internet currency called Bitcoins. Attorney David Aylor here to explain about how Bitcoins function on the internet drug scene and why they can be quite dangerous. Counselor, thank you for coming on the program. I know that you're doing a lot on the forefront of this new issue called Bitcoin. So why don't you explain to everybody exactly what they are?
Well, essentially what it is an electronic currency. Similar to other currencies, obviously, that trades online, this currency is different in the fact that there is no physical version of it. It's an electronic currency. You actually have an electronic wallet, and it's used throughout the world as a currency for exchange of goods and services and things like that. But the key difference is, unlike other established currencies that we're all aware of, there's no centralized bank involved in Bitcoins.
Now, you and I have talked about this before, and basically what makes it hold its value is that there's only a certain number of them. Is that correct?
Exactly. They can only make a certain amount of them, and so it's going to be limited in that trade, and that's where you're seeing the value continue to go up. And what you're also seeing is a lot more businesses start to accept them. There's very much a positive side of the Bitcoin world. Unfortunately, that gets overshadowed by the criminal things we've just recently mentioned. But essentially what you're seeing a lot of individuals using it for is just, on the internet exchanges for goods and things like that, similar to where you would use perhaps PayPal. But instead, in this situation, you're using Bitcoins. And of course, the key difference there and what the government's worried about is the fact that since it's not centralized, there's no tax involved.
It's funny that, these things start out as such a good-natured thing, and then the criminal aspect always comes in, and that's kind of what we're talking about here today. So tell me how a regular layman like myself would acquire a Bitcoin, and then how criminals would try and get that Bitcoin away from you.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't consider you a regular layman.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But essentially what would happen is you can go online and acquire Bitcoins. You have to get, basically once you're approved and you get the Bitcoins, then you can use them for however you like. And there's two criminal sides to it. One is where individuals with large amounts of Bitcoins, electronic wallets that they carry, are getting hacked. Because again, this is a digital world, so there's various ways of fraud and hacking going on, which is, going to be involved in anything. Obviously, we know regular centralized banks and things like that obviously get hacked at times. So that's one issue that they're having related on the criminal side, is people actually, more or less, for lack of a better term, electronically stealing other people's Bitcoins. The other side of it is the fact that when you have Bitcoins and this is another concern of the government, is that they're anonymous, meaning if you bought Bitcoins, there's nothing that connects it to your name as opposed to something connecting it to your bank card or your credit card, like you'd see in PayPal or other accounts. And so essentially what you can do is go on these various websites that sell illegal drugs. Silk Road is one that's probably the most popular.
Yeah.
However, there's a couple other ones, and you can literally buy illegal narcotics as well as other illegal contraband in using your Bitcoins, because again, the anonymous part of it really sort of protects you as the consumer.
So you wouldn't be using that electronic footprint. There wouldn't be a very easy way for government or investigators to track it back to you.
Exactly. It would be much more difficult for a number of different reasons. The security in place within the websites, and then again, when you're buying it, it wouldn't go back to you individually. Now, obviously, under certain scenarios, they can try to backtrack it, maybe even discover who it is based off the delivery and things like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's much more difficult because of the fact that that actual transaction that's been made electronically does not put it with one person's name.
Well, let's go back to that value that governments are placing on these things. Is there any kind of move right now to regulate this and somehow tax it?
Well, they're looking at a number of things. In fact, just recently, over the last couple of weeks, they've been discussing it on Capitol Hill, and they're trying to determine exactly what they do. The United States government does not want to stop an open market because they feel like obviously that's good for consumers in a number of ways, similar to other types of businesses online. However, they are looking at trying to figure out how they may want to regulate it. You're seeing that in other countries, and then some countries are just banning it altogether because they just completely don't know what to do.
It certainly is an interesting topic and one we will be following. David Aylor, the innovator of internet technology right here. Thank you for your time, sir, too. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Much more after the break. Make sure you stay with us.